Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in this video we're going to talk about all the prep providers for the CIA and the CIA that I know of, at least the ones that I've had some sort of experience with. Of course there are I think a few others, but I can't talk about those because I didn't have any contact, any experience with them. So let's just focus here on the prep providers that I know about and I have some sort of interaction with, so that I can help you to give you some insights in case you feel the need to get some services out of these prep providers on your preparation for your CFA exam or your CIA exam. First of all, I need to make a few disclaimers here because I need to make this clear to avoid any sort of appearance of a conflict of interest, which is of course very important. Is that first of all, I never bought any books from prep providers, in particular for the CFA exams. The first thing I need to address is that I never bought any books. I only used free materials from them, the ones that are provided for free on their website. For each exam, I only bought one mock exam that was provided by the CFA Society in Portugal, and so those mock exams were from Kaplan Schweizer, and so because they were, I think, about $25, it was a very cheap for a mock exam, so I bought them, one for each level. Other thing is that I asked other charter holders to have a look at some of the books from some prep providers, from previous years, I should say, just to understand whether it was worth it or not to buy some of those myself during my preparation. But given my study approach, my study method, which is basically making a summary of all the topics in the curriculum and then practicing the exercises, the questions over and over again, I felt it was not worth it for me, so I decided against buying any of those books. And the final thing, probably the most important thing, is that no prep provider has paid me to do this kind of assessment or to give this kind of review. This is basically my experience during my CFA and my CAIA journey towards getting these designations. And so I should begin probably by one that I had a very brief experience, which is analyst prep. I recall that I only used some of their free practice questions that are provided on their website for the level 1 exam. I recall that some of those questions were much harder than the ones that were in the CFA learning ecosystem for level 1, and so obviously I ended up taking the conclusion that they were harder than the ones that I've eventually found on the exam. I believe that, just for you to know, I believe this is a common tactic among prep providers, because by giving out harder questions for us candidates to have and to try to tackle, eventually we will get the impression that after all we are not prepared for the exam, so we feel more compelled to buy some of their materials because we were not able to tackle their own free questions. So this is a common tactic to bring some additional business. It's totally understandable. I have no qualms against that, but just keep in mind that if you go through the prep providers' websites and find some free practice questions and you try to tackle those, it's likely that some of those will be harder than the ones that you will actually find on the exam, basically because of that. But yeah, those were useful, but they were very very few, and so they ended up, I think they did not have any material impact on my performance on the exam. The next one that I would like to talk about is Mark Meldrum. Mark Meldrum, just to say, I just had a look at some of their books. I found those very good because the books and the materials focused on very very specific topics, and probably the most important topics, or should I say concepts, in each topic. And one of the other things that I found very very interesting, because Mark Meldrum, for me, uh, I did not hear about it in the for level 1, but progressively over time, as I began preparing for level 2 and then level 3, Mark Meldrum as a prep provider became more known to me, and I began hearing progressively more candidates and more charter holders talking about the materials of Mark Meldrum. And so, besides those books, for me, as far as I could tell by having a look at books from previous years, those were very very good in my opinion. For level 3, there are some materials that are very very focused on the essay questions of the exam, and for me, as a CFA level 3 candidate at the time, I felt, all right, basically most of the difficulty of the exam will come from having to tackle the essay questions. And so having some materials that in particular try to address this potential weakness that we have in this area of greater difficulty that we're going to have to face in the exam, I think this is something that is extremely useful for candidates. So yeah, I would say I would recommend it, even though I don't have the first-hand experience on using the materials myself. And another topic, another point which I think is a big plus going for Mark Meldrum, is that they have the feature they provide, which is the one fee to pass, in which if you fail one exam and then you register for the same exam later on, and of course assuming you bought the materials for your first try of the exam, you will get the updated materials for the next exam that you will sit for free, because you only pay once to pass each level. All right, which I think is a very big plus for candidates. If they ended up failing the exam, of course they will get another shot at the exam without having to pay for another round of materials, which I think it's quite useful. And for me, I think this speaks volumes about the quality of Mark Meldrum, again, should I say, without having first-hand experience about it. Another one, another prep provider is Kaplan Schweizer. I have to say that Kaplan Schweizer was, for the most part, the first prep provider that I learned about, that I had ever heard about, and it was at the time when I began my journey for the CFA level 1, was very very popular. And I remember that for level 1, because they have some free materials in their website. For level 1, I subscribed to their question of the day, which is basically getting a free question every day in your email, every day until the exam day. Yeah, it doesn't hurt. Those questions are, as far as I can tell, they are pretty similar to the ones that you can find on the exam. And because the level 1 exam is basically freestanding multiple choice questions, it's easier for them to provide those questions. You will get one on your email every single day, which is very good, and so it doesn't hurt to tackle those questions, because of course they are free. Other thing is that I remember that for level 2, I can't recall how I did it, but I managed to get access to get a free trial to their question bank for level 2. And I remember during the lockdown, the COVID lockdown of 2020. This was after we knew that our June 2020 exam would be cancelled and would be postponed for, at the time it was thought it would be December 2020 in Portugal. During those days in May, June, July, I practiced extensively these questions in the question bank. But at some point I began to notice that these questions were not testing basically the topics that are mentioned in the LOS of the curriculum. And so at some point I found myself making a lot of these questions in the question bank, but then I tried to come back to the questions, to the practice questions of the CFA learning ecosystem, and I found that these are completely different questions. I could not tackle a lot of the questions of the CFA learning ecosystem because I was very used to do the ones from the Kaplan question bank. And so that's where I realized, all right, these questions from the Kaplan question bank are not useful, in my opinion. And so because many of them do not address LOSs or that are in the curriculum for level 2. So I decided to ditch them altogether. I didn't use it anymore. And later on, for level 3, I did not try to get another free trial to their question bank because I felt, all right, I'm not going to waste any time on this because I don't think it's going to be worth it. Another thing, which is I mentioned, this is of course his first-hand experience, is that those mock exams for that I bought through the CFA Society in Portugal, I think that for $25 one mock exam, it's great value because these questions that I found on these mock exams are very, very close to the ones that you find on the actual exam. And you can never have too much preparation in terms of going through mock exams. And so I think it's great value, and I fully recommend if your local society provides you with the opportunity to buy one of those mock exams, definitely go for it because you will get tons of practicing out of it, basically with a very few expense out of your pocket. So I think it's a no-brainer. One other thing that I would say about this situation about Kaplan. It was not in there at the time, but I remember now I recently went through its website again to make sure that the information that I was providing you for this video was still consistent with the situation nowadays. And I found that now Kaplan, I don't know for how long, but Kaplan now provides also a similar feature to the one fee to pass that Mark Meldrum provides, which is called a pass protection. So once again, it's the same principle. If you fail an exam having bought some of the materials, and if you register for the same exam again, you will get the updated materials for free. You don't need to pay again for those materials, which I think, of course, this is also a great plus for candidates, and puts you on equal footing with Mark Meldrum. Other prep provider that I recall, I use it only for level 1, which is EFT, because EFT has some free videos for level 1. These videos are still relevant, even though most of those I think are made a few years ago, but they are still relevant because many of the topics, the most important topics, such as financial statement analysis, equities, fixed income, most of those concepts are still relevant over the years. So these videos still have a lot of value. There were some topics at the time in which I was struggling to get a grasp on, and so I watched those videos. Those videos are very good. The person who does the videos is the CFA charterholder Arif Irfanullah, and so he explains in a very clear and in a very understandable way all these topics, making draws on a white screen basically, and so it helped me a lot at the time, and I fully recommend those videos. There are videos also for level 2 and level 3, but because those are paid, I did not use them. But those for level 1, I fully recommend them because they are super good. They were super helpful to me at the time. Another one that I recall is that Solidea as well is also a prep provider that I recall using it, but not specifically for free materials in preparation for the exam. I think I just used only its study planner, and the study planner ended up not being very relevant to me, because as I mentioned in my previous videos, I always use an approach which is beginning very early with my preparation, and because of that, it ended up not being useful, because you set up the study planner for a given number of days, and then you're supposed to get a certain rhythm of studying going until the exam day. But because I always began studying so early, always give myself about 9 months in advance, I was always ahead of schedule, and so I realized after some time, even in my level 1 preparation, no, this is not worth using it at all, because I'm always ahead. So yeah, doesn't bother me not using it. So I just gave it up, and that was my only contact I had with Solidea. Solidea, I think also provides some mock exams, but also they are paid, so I didn't bother buying them. And I think the last one, yeah, as far as I can tell, those as I can remember, I did not use any further test prep providers, or I did not have any contact with any prep providers for the CFA exam. Now for the CAIA exam, the level 2, I used the Edge designations. It came up because I attended a free presentation that they had, and they were talking specifically about their materials for the CAIA exam, and I felt, well, I'm struggling a lot with the very low amount of exercises provided by the CAIA association itself, and so yeah, why not? And I didn't realize at the time that many of the prep providers I guess I'm not sure if Kaplan provides. I think it provides for FRM as well. I'm not sure if Mark Meldrum provides materials for the CAIA exams, but yeah, why not? Let's go for it. And I bought 3 mock exams from Edge, and it ended up being very useful because they provided me a temporary access to their question bank, and so I used that time period to make as many questions as possible in their platform, and I can tell you that basically it ended up being my basis of preparation for the exam, because there were so few practice questions from the CAIA designation for the CAIA association that yeah, those questions, and there were a lot of questions in that question bank, along with the 3 mock exams that I got from them. Yeah, basically I did those over and over again, as much as I could until the exam, and I can tell you, because I passed that exam. Basically, I credit the fact that I passed the exam on the prep that I took using those materials from Edge designation. So I guess that says it all. It's quality, and in my view, yeah, I fully recommend them if you need some sort of assistance for your CAIA exam. I can tell for the CFA, because they provide materials for the CFA exams, and also I think for FRM as well. But I can't speak for those materials because I did not have any contact with those at all. But for the CAIA exam, those are really good, and yeah, definitely 100% recommended. One last insight that I'd like to give you, and I think it's worth mentioning again. During my CFA journey, at the beginning, as I mentioned, Kaplan Schweizer for me was the most popular prep provider among CFA candidates and also charter holders. But gradually over time, as I went through the levels of the CFA program, I began hearing more and more candidates and also charter holders talking about how good the materials from Mark Meldrum are, and the references relative to Kaplan ended up not being as many. So I don't know if the materials of Mark Meldrum are any better than Kaplan, but I saw, and as far as I can tell from my experience, those are among the best prep providers. But of course, it's up to you to check it out and see for yourself if those suit your needs, because in the end, it's your decision. I can only tell from my experience what I did relative to those, or whether I use them or not. So basically, that's up to you, of course. But if you feel the need to discuss some of these experiences with prep providers that I had before, feel free to get in touch with me on LinkedIn and send me a message. I would love to help you out, and of course to answer any questions that you may have. And I think that's it all. That's all from my side. And sure, for anything else, message me on LinkedIn, and I'll be happy to get in touch with you guys. And I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you very much. Have a great week ahead. Thank you. Bye bye.